Hey everyone, this is Matt Johnson with Viral Marketing, and thanks for joining us. This is the first installment of the Profits and Passions Hangout with Jonathan Zabrocki. And Jonathan, how's it going today?
It's going great. How are you, Matt?
Very good. So just wanted to tell people this is an interactive live event. So if you have any questions, just push them through the Q&A app right here on the Google Plus page, or you can also post them as a comment. I'm going to bring them to Jonathan as we go through, but let's get into it. So we're going to talk about how to sell $300 million in real estate in your career and how to do it in less time with a lot less work than what most people think. And that's what Jonathan's really good at. So let's get into it. Jonathan, tell us a little bit, for people that don't know you, there's a lot of people that probably have no idea who you are or what your background is. So how did you actually come to sell $300 million in residential real estate, and how did that come about?
Um, yeah, good question. So basically, gosh, you want the 45-minute answer or the 45-second answer?
How about the 45 second?
All right, 45-second answer is I lost all my money. So I was a stockbroker in 2001. Lost over $1 million, went poof. It was all of my liquid money at the time, and I went home and told my beautiful bride, we have no money, and she said, "Oh, that's a bummer." And then I felt sorry for myself for I don't know about an hour, and then I was like, "All right, I need to find something I can sell that just isn't going to evaporate and go away." And so I thought, okay, what's the largest asset that people buy? And it's residential real estate. And then what is the uh, what do they buy that they want help with, right? And it
Right.
just dawned on me that okay, most people want help when they buy or sell homes, and found out that realtors got paid a good commission. And I called up a friend of mine who was our realtor at the time, and I said, "Gosh, I want to open up a real estate company in Chanhassen, Minnesota." And he said, "Well, it's just not that easy. Why don't you come work with me?" I worked with him for probably about a year, year and a half. But day one, I was like, "Matt, oh my gosh." I was like, I should have been doing this when I was 21 years old. This is going to be so easy because I run my business like a business. And that's what working in the financial industry taught me, is that it's all about systems, it's all about procedures, it's all about what are you doing and why are you doing it.
Okay. And so where did you go from there? You started your own team or brokerage, or how did that all work?
Yeah, so my first year in real estate was, I guess now 2002, and I did a little over 10 million in sales my first year. I did 14 million in sales my next year. People were coming to me asking me, "What in the world are you doing?" I said, "I don't know. I just work." And I was working a lot. So I was working 7 a.m. till I don't know, it's guilty, but I mean probably 11 p.m., midnight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, maybe I'd quit early, call it 8 p.m., sometimes 7 p.m. Saturdays was working, 8 in the morning till maybe 10 p.m. in the evening. Sundays, I'm a Christian, so I go to church, but then, 10 a.m. till, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. on Sunday, and I was like, man, this just cannot continue. And people were coming to me, they were thinking I was some rock star, selling all this real estate. And I wrote a manual in a book called Guide to Your Success. So yeah, I was hiring other people and whatnot. But I was like, man, this is craziness, because it just didn't make any sense to me. So then my third year, I went to 27 million in sales, but I worked about half as much. And what happened during that second and third year is I did a lot of real estate coaching, but more than that, I did just industry coaching. So like the Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield's, Michael Gerber. I remember my good friend of mine who owns a title company. He and I flew out to San Francisco for like a 3-day Michael Gerber event, and that really changed my world, and it changed his world.
Okay. So that's really when the light went on. That's kind of consider your turning point, was that second to third year in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a process, So during that, fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh year, I was definitely hiring realtors. I think I've hired, gosh, probably about 10, 120 realtors, give or take. Currently there's two realtors that work with me now in San Diego, um, but that's not my big drive. My big drive is to uh, make a difference, but make a fortune, and spend time on what I call passions, right? So each person has their own passions. To me, my passions are my 4 kids, my beautiful bride, and just free time. I love free time.
All right, so let's get into the background a little bit more and explain kind of where you're at right now for the people that don't know. So you actually built a mega team effectively on, like, what would you say, the northwest side of Minneapolis and kind of the affluent end of that area, right?
Yeah,
Hired
I would say
over
more than a
100 agents
mega
in your
team. I
time.
mean, I built a team that operates without me. So 7 years
Hmm.
ago, I moved to San Diego, and I still owned my real estate team company in Chanhassen, in Minneapolis area. And initially, I would fly back maybe once a week. Then I would fly back every 2 weeks. Then I'd fly back once a month. Then I'd fly back once a quarter. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's not too many realtors that have built a real estate team and don't even. They live, I live in San Diego. My team is in Minneapolis, right? So, yeah, I definitely built a very good system.
Yeah, so you were able to fully exit that business, and then you eventually sold that off, correct?
Yeah, it's probably beginning of last year I sold that because I was like, this was just kind of silly. It's I'm not really adding a lot of value to it. And probably 3 years ago, I woke up. I was like, man, my kids are seeing me not do too much. I mean, I'm working like an hour a day, and that's just not good. And so I said, I need to sell residential real estate in San Diego. And so I just woke up one day and said, yep, let's do it. And I don't know exactly the numbers, but last year was my best income year ever. And I'm very selective on who I work with. And I just find that's there's so much power in that, right? So like I know my ideal client. Even we were talking real briefly here because you're like, Jonathan, where are you? Right? And it's like I just got off the phone with a lead that called me and selected me. They're moving from Toronto, Canada. His name is Mr. Amos. I could give you his contact info here, but he's flying in with his wife on Thursday, and they want to have a house purchased by Friday. And price range is like 1.3, 1.4 million. And as I took that phone call, as I'm driving to my home office, I was coming back from an appointment of a house I just listed in Poway, which is my hometown now, of a $1.6 million property. And these people, they don't know me from Adam, but they called off one of my postcards that I mailed out. And they signed with me on Friday afternoon is when they signed the listing. So that's a great transaction as well. So I love to serve people, but they have to fit into my um, wheelhouse of who I want to serve.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the messages that you really wanted to get across with this hangout. It's not about like the numbers that everybody kind of brags about, the number of transactions, the gross commission and stuff like that, and even the headline for the for this particular event is you have to sometimes give people what they want to hear, which is the big numbers and things like that. But it's not even about that. It's about the profit. The how much of that are you actually keeping? How much are you working to get that? And what are you doing with the time and the money that you're making? And that's kind of sounds like that was your big aha moment when you got out to San Diego, is that you didn't feel like you were contributing to your team anymore, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You let that go. But then, so tell everybody kind of what your business is like now. And so you talked a little bit about your ideal client, but how many of those clients are you working with? How many transactions are you doing to kind of fuel your lifestyle?
Yeah. So I mean, income right now for the year, I'm probably, well, I shouldn't say probably. That's 'cause I don't like to guesstimate. So far for 2015, I'm at $194,000. So 194,000, I probably spend, I don't know, it depends, maybe 5 to 7,000 in advertising. So we're 3 months into it, so uh, I don't know what that is.
That maybe 20, 21 grand at the most.
Yeah, so 195 minus 20, whatever that is, 60,000, 50,000 a month, give or take, and that's with you're gonna like, that's with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 clients. So I tell people, and this is really weird too, because like when I meet people, I tell them that I only work with 4 clients at a time, maybe 5, maybe, but I'm not interested in that. So I'm generally going to only work with 4 clients at a time, and there's no other realtor that you're going to probably talk to in your lifetime who has as much experience as I do, who's going to say they limit it to only working with 4 people at a time, because most realtors are all about mega, 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 and I'm all about, I'd rather work with 2 clients at a time. I'm really looking for a buyer that wants to buy within 3 days. If they're looking for longer than that, that's I'm just not interested in that.
Well, the key to that is, and you put your finger on one part of it, which is the mentality of having that, the knowledge of this is my wheelhouse and I'm not going to work with somebody outside that. But greater than that is, I mean, you do spend on advertising to create the opportunities for yourself so that you have enough leads that you can cherry pick the ones that you really want to work with. So talk a little bit about, like, when you kind of parachuted into San Diego, what did you start doing once you decided I'm going to sell residential real estate? I only want to work with 3 to 4 clients, and I want them to be exactly who I want to work with. What did you do to start reaching out to people to generate enough leads to where you can start cherry picking people?
Well, okay, so it starts with, I guess I wrote this thing called 4 Secret Steps to Your Success. And if anybody wants this, I'm sure we can send it out to them or whatnot. It's definitely something that I go over. I put on a 3-day event, Matt, and I do it typically every month, and it's here in San Diego. It's not for the faint of heart, because it's not going to be stuff that you've learned before. It's going to be stuff that's going to change your life. And like I say, I've hired over 120 realtors, and I'm really proud of that, because I've helped some realtors go from 0 to, like, I just saw a gentleman today who was somebody I took from 0 sales to now he's being featured on Trulia. And to me, that's like awesome. His name is Jeff Bray, and he owns the Bray Group in Minnetonka, Minnesota. And yeah, to me, that's awesome. But the hiring that I have done, and this kind of goes a little loop to loop as well. But the hiring that I've done, I tell people my goal is to make you, like, really, 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 really wealthy in profits, but in passions as well, right? And so because of that, the people I attract are of a different caliber, and I'm not looking. I like mega anything is like putrid to me, right? Like I don't. If it's an anniversary night, I'm not going to go to McDonald's because it's a mega restaurant. I'm going to go to a very, very quaint, charming place. And so I tell people, it's like, if you want a mega whatever, that's not me. But if you want, like, private jet service on a private airline you've never heard of, that's going to take you to a private island you've never heard of, then yeah, I'd probably be a really, really good fit for you. Because that's what I'm all about. You're going to feel like you're my #1 and only client. But the systems that I use to train and mentor realtors when they join my group, just from 4 hires that I've done, I've made over $1.5 million of personal income. just from those 4 hires, to me that charges me up. Does that make sense? And so I love teaching other realtors how to do the exact same. And that $1.5 million of income that I earn from these 4 realtors is not from San Diego. This is from, Minneapolis, Minnesota area where the homes are, 125,000 and up. So.
Okay. So let's get into when you're interacting with clients, when you're meeting with these clients. So you've done some advertising. You talked about postcards, and you market through Zillow. I don't know if do you do any Trillo or Trulia marketing, or is it just Zillow?
Yeah, it's Realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow. So I'm a big believer.
All 3 in postcards.
Yeah, I probably have a website, but I couldn't tell you how to get to it.
Probably have a website.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on from that. Let's once you get in front of the client.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a little bit. I want to make sure that this comes out. So anything that's not in your wheelhouse, even if you look at taking the listing for them, if there's anything you're known for in real estate circles, it's the fact that you don't take any listing below a certain dollar sign unless it's 8% commission. So explain kind of how you look at that and how you sold that when you were in Minnesota, and those, you're running into a lot of people that probably want to employ you that are not in your $1.5 million sweet spot.
Well, okay, and I'd say this being really selective started when I came to San Diego, right? Because I was probably a typical realtor who just thought, gosh, I got to help everybody out, right? It's hard to turn away people. But being in San Diego was great because nobody knew me. So I was like, okay, I can totally reinvent myself, right? And so I can choose to do whatever I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, my most expensive listing that I ever took was about 11%. Okay. And I guess I can't tell you what the norm is because supposedly we can't talk commissions and no one knows what the norm is. But I think 11% is more than normal. But again, I don't know. How did I get 11%? It's because I just asked for it.
Okay.
So it's like, how did you get your beautiful fiance to say yes to you? You just asked.
Okay.
And the hard part is there's just so many realtors out there that just choose not to ask, or better yet, it's like they don't take the time to. So on my 3-day event, we spend 1 full day on 4 things, and these 4 things are decide what you want, develop your plan, or better yet, copy a proven one. Just makes life a lot simpler. 3, work on your plan. And then 4, track your results, adjust, and celebrate. And the step 1, decide what you want, we spend about 8 hours that first day just going over that. And in simple terms are how much do you want to earn per client? So do you want to earn $50,000 per client? Do you want to earn $10,000 per client? Do you want to earn $3,000 per client? Because I could be dropped into, I don't even know where a poor part of America is, because I mean Minnesota is not like flowing with money, but I could take Iowa, right? And I could be dropped in Iowa somewhere, and as long as I'm in a metro area, I guarantee you there's homes that are probably $750,000, $900,000, $1 million, $1.5 million. Somebody's got to sell those. It might as well be myself and the other realtors that I train. Does that make sense? You just have to self-anoint yourself as like, I am now the expert in Ames, Iowa for $1 million and up. And then if you send out the right postcard to the right people, you're going to get the right people calling you, and you don't need, well, I don't need to work with 10 clients at a time. I need like 2 closings a month, and give or take, $60,000 to $70,000 of income a month, and I don't even need that, but it's just kind of fun to have it.
Now, yeah. So let's talk to me a little bit about the systems, if you don't mind, because part of this hangout is that you make this, obviously you're doing a couple of deals a month, and you're looking for buyers that are closing quickly, you're looking for the right kind of sellers, so that way you don't have to work with a lot of clients. That eliminates the need for an assistant. But we talked a lot about when you first got into the business, because of your background, you kind of systematize, you learned how to run your business as a business and run it off of systems. So how are you doing that when it has nothing, you're not relying on other people, you don't need an assistant, it's just you. So what kind of systems are you using to make yourself that productive so you're not bogged down in the details and working 7 days a week?
This is my fancy database. I've used every database known to man. Well, I should say I've bought every database known to man. I think I have 2 of them currently. I have not logged into them, and well, years might be an overstatement, but months would definitely be true. Should I? Sure. You know what I mean? Could I? Yep. But there's all kinds of things I could do. What I want to do is spend time with my wife, my 4 kids, and work with as few people as possible. But what I do is I give them, well, I give them this type of service. So I tell them that's how I view your house, right? So you're employing me to sell this house. What would you expect me to do? So they say, well, blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, well, what if I do all those things plus 34 additional things? And they say, well, what is that? And then, like, okay, I told you I was at this house earlier today, and on my drive from that house back to my home office, I get a call from this Toronto person. Well, the reason I'm at this house that I just listed for 1.6 million is I met my handyman out there. And what I tell a seller is, hey, we're going to fix all the issues you got. So let me see if I have it. But I mean, they type up, you know, a piece of paper that has all the issues on it, and then I go meet my handyman out there, and I pay for it, and my handyman does the work, and then when I meet the house cleaners out there, I meet them out there tomorrow. When I meet the photographer, I meet the photographer there tomorrow. I got a landscape architect I'll meet out there. Stager, I meet her out there. So it's just different, right? And then, like, there's a lot of people that use this thing called DocuSign, and I do, but I only do it if I don't want referrals. So if I don't want referrals, then I use DocuSign. But I tell people I'm the laziest realtor you've ever met, because I like referrals, right? As long as I got one happy person, they're going to multiply like rabbits. And so instead of me, so in one of the houses I just listed, he's a very high-end guy at Callaway Golf, like top 3, right? And he's busy, I'm busy, but do you know what I tell him we got to do? We got to meet. And there's like, you know, here's the forms we got to sign, and I can meet you and Melissa at your house. I can meet you guys either at 4 o'clock today or at 5 o'clock. What works better for you? And it's kind of crazy. He meets me there at 4:30, you know, and I don't ask him, like, do you have time to do it? Will it fit into your schedule? That's all nonsense, right? They're hiring me because I'm the professional, just like if their daughter had a broken leg, they'd jump over broken glass to make sure they're working with a good physician that's going to make it happen. But I find that the more times I meet people in person, the better. So if you're like a bad person, then you got to probably change your personality or become a good person. But if you're a good person, why in the world would you ever want to DocuSign anything? Because I meet with people when we list, when we have offers, when we you know, get through all the inspections. I'm sending flowers, I'm sending gifts, I'm sending cookie bouquets, I'm sending movie tickets, I'm sending baseball tickets. That's my database. My database is I wake up and go, gosh, whose day can I make today? And then I try and make their day.
So,
but I limit it. Yeah. I like to limit it like 3 hours a day,
Okay.
maybe less.
You mean like client service work?
Just work, period.
Work period. Yeah, point taken. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so in the few minutes that we have left, I want to make sure that we gave you a little bit more time to elaborate on kind of the main point that you wanted to hit, and that's the knowing your ideal client. And that it seems to me that's such a huge part of what has made you successful, is you have decided this is the narrow sliver of people I'm going to work with, and everybody outside of that has to prove to me why I would even want to work with them. And the people within that sliver need to prove to me that they're going to make a decision quickly so that they earn my time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. And it's each person's different, right? So I just had someone who came to my 3-day event, and they're like, you know what? My ideal person is $10,000. I want to earn a $10,000 commission. Great, fantastic, right? There's someone else who's like, well, I want to earn 25,000. Awesome, great. So I'm not going to judge somebody, I guess, one way or the other. I'm just going to maybe educate them that, you know, why not um, why not put a zero behind that 10,000? And why not make 100,000, right? Or, as one of my coaches says, and I spend a lot of money on I don't know if you'd call them life coaches, because that's not the right word for it, but people that are very well, they're people that I'd say I want to emulate, right? So they're not working a lot, but they're highly, highly productive. And so as a for instance, so I charge $21,000 a day to hang out with a realtor. So if they want me to hang out with them, they can either come here in San Diego and hang out with them for a day, or I fly to wherever their office is. But I tell them, that's not the best use of your money. Your best use of your money is to come to the 3-day event and do that at like a crazy fraction. But you can't see this probably, but if somebody is making $6,000 in commissions, I would just say all we got to do is do that, and now you're making 16,000. I mean, it's just to work with a different type of client is as simple as just making the decision to, instead of make $6,000 per transaction, to make 16,000.
Mm-hmm.
Or more for that matter.
Yeah,
But
and
yes,
that's one of the things that I brought up to you when we first came in contact, is that that's going to be probably a big mental objection in a lot of people's minds. And how do you help them? What is there to overcome, or how do you help them overcome that idea that moving up in price doesn't involve anything different? They don't have to change their listing presentation. They're not different types of clients. That you really don't approach an affluent seller in San Diego any differently than you approach a $150,000 list in North Minneapolis.
it's 100% the same, because I'm a licensed realtor. So that means I have a moral obligation to do everything humanly known to sell your home faster and for more money. And so if I know of a method to get your home sold faster and for more money, I have to use that method, no matter if your home is worth 75,000, 750,000 or 7.5 million. It's irrelevant. It's a realtor code. So now that I know that code, I'd rather choose to work with a different category of buyer or seller versus just be random. Because randomness is the worst.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you've done in San Diego, is you took and you've kind of carved out, like you know exactly like which neighborhoods you want to target just on the advertising end, because you know who you start with, your ideal client, and then you kind of work backwards from there and figured out, well, this is how I attract them, this is the advertising that I need to do to get to that group of people that I know I want to work with. And you're starting at the beginning, kind of like the process that you take people through in your event.
Yeah, and and it's not like I'm not targeting the high end San Diego, right? Because again, I value free time, so I really don't want to drive 12 minutes somewhere. That's like it's not yuck, you know. And so I'm just targeting like within 7 minutes of my house,
Hmm.
and thankfully there's nice houses within 7 minutes of my house, but they're clustered in that million to 3 million range. And there's some, on the outlier of that, and below and above. But I can go to Rancho Santa Fe where, yeah, everything is $22 million, but I got to drive 40 minutes to get there. And I should probably test it out and send some postcards there. It'd probably be worth my 40-minute drive. But I just haven't. And probably the reason I haven't, Matt, is because it's like I make enough money doing what I'm doing, so why would I want to make more? It's like I just don't.
Yeah,
I
well, that
have.
and if you're actually driving out to meet them multiple times at kind of it sounds like every major milestone in the transaction, you're meeting with them in person.
Yeah,
So taking a listing that's 45 minutes of nonstop traffic all the way across town doesn't exactly work with the whole way you've set up your service.
correct.
So yeah, I mean, you know your wheelhouse, you stay in it, and you're just not necessarily fortunate, but I mean, you were very strategic in the sense that you live where you want to live. You happen to live around people that are in your wheelhouse, and you stay within that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So know your ideal client. I mean, that's the message for today.
Well, and but, I mean, even before that, so I'll go over some of the secret questions that I ask people when they come to my 3-day event, or when I
Okay.
go meet with them for a full day. But one of them is, where are you at right now? So you just got to be real with yourself. If you're living your ideal life right now, then go live your life, right? But if you're not living your ideal life right now, well, then you got to ask yourself question two is, well, where do you want to be? And not really where do you want to be like next week, because who cares, right? I make decisions, where do I want to be 25 years from now? And most people don't ask themselves, where do I want to be 25 years from now? It's like freaky. It's like I don't know why people don't, but they don't, right? They go like, well, in 2015 I want to do this, or 2017 I want to do this, and I'm like, okay, that's great. Maybe we'll get to that, but first off, where do you want to be 25 years from now? Because when you make a decision based on where you want to be 25 years from now, it's very easy for me to say no to somebody. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Because 25 years from now, that transaction isn't going to matter, right? So, and then the third one is, well, why do you want that? So, why do you want whatever it is that you want 25 years from now? Those three questions alone are like the Visa commercial. They're priceless because once you know that, you're going to probably have a marriage that is like better than what you currently have. You're probably going to have a relationship with your kids that's probably better than what you currently have. Um, I'm not saying my life's perfect, but I got to pinch myself every minute of every day, going like, man, I got a great life, and people come to me with struggles, and I'm like, man, we can fix those struggles in like a day and a half. But you're going to want to have to fix it, right? If you're going to want to complain about it, I'm not the right person for you. But if you want to fix your struggles in a day and a half, it is ultra easy. Because then we just got to get the right mindset, and then we got to get the right personal life, and then we get the right business life. So to me, it's all about the right personal life. You got the right personal life, great. Then we can talk about your business life. Then we can talk about your financial life. Then we can talk about the freedom multiplier, which takes your silly 60 hours a week you're working down to 20 in a heartbeat. And none of this is rocket science, but I've also found that it's like massive accountability, because it's not easy. It's like there's that phrase, Matt, where it's what is it? an apple a day keeps the
Doctor away.
yeah. But you know what? I didn't eat an apple today. I didn't eat an apple yesterday. Did you have an apple today?
Sadly, I did not.
Yeah, you know, and it's everybody knows an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but very few people do it, right? So it's like if I truly cared about my how I looked or whatever, which I don't because I drink Diet Pepsi like it's water, then I'd hire a personal coach or nutritionalist or whatever they call them and do whatever they tell me to do. And the stuff they're going to tell me to do is probably pretty basic, but it's like I'm going to have to be willing to change. So it's like even like I know there was like a meltdown in the housing market a couple of years back. I never experienced that, right? Like people would tell me they work with REOs and short sales and all this other gibberish. I mean, I don't work with those people. Like, why would I work with a short sale person who has no money? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, but there's realtors out there who go up and down all the time based on like I guess what the economy does and this and that. I mean, the economy is irrelevant. I have no clue where the stock market is at. I don't know. It doesn't impact me. It shouldn't impact a realtor. If the economy or interest rates are impacting you, you're probably using the wrong system. Just like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett makes gazillions of dollars every year, and I don't think he really cares what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. So we've covered kind of the main things that you wanted to get across today. Just wanted to kind of give people a sneak preview of what we're going to be talking about in future Hangouts and future interviews. So we're going to be going over some of the content that Jonathan goes through on the live events that he conducts, and some of the clients that have gone through those events will come on to the Hangouts with us and kind of share what they've experienced and their story of actually implementing what he teaches into their business and how that works, and how what the results that they're seeing from what they're implementing. So we'll get into some of that, but for now, let's just start with Jonathan. Leave us off. Obviously you've got your website up right below your name there. That's theprofitsandpassions.com/apply, and just explain a little bit about what that is and what the next step is for people to kind of reach out to you and connect with you.
Yeah. So because I'm not good with tech stuff, as you can imagine, I mean, I hired a couple of great people to help me with this stuff. And I'm interested. One of my missions is to help 72 realtors. And again, because I'm not into mega, all I want to do is help 72 realtors like totally change their life. And in my opinion, a life worth living is where you're making a difference and you're making a fortune. And sometimes people think you can have one but not the other. I suppose, I mean, anything's possible, but I'd rather make a massive difference in my life and in other people's lives and make a fortune along the way. That's why it's called Profits and Passions. But yeah, there's a couple of ways. One is I offer a free online class where people can watch for, I think it's 2 hours, right? And I will tell them everything that I do, what I say, how I do it. I'll show exact copies of my postcards and all that type of stuff. There's another way people could get information. They can download a free report I've written called 4 Secret Steps to Success. Another option is to hire me for the day, just $21,000. Another option is to come to my 3-day event. I think my next one is end of April, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The cost is not free, but the cost isn't, absorbent either, or exorbitant, I guess would be the right word for it. But it's enough to keep the time vampires away, because I don't dig time vampires, right? I like hanging out with people that want to make a difference and make a fortune, and not learn for information's sake. So in my 120 people that I've hired in real estate, there's been probably 600 that I just have never even hired. Like I turned them away. because I'm not into education to like, I don't need to learn anything new, if that makes sense. I just need to do the four things that I know that I need to be doing day in and day out. It's probably why Warren Buffett is very successful. I mean, the dude's in Omaha, Nebraska. It's not the frickin' financial mecca of global Earth. And not only that, but the guy buys like Coca-Cola and companies that he knows what they do, right? One of his best friends is Bill Gates, who owns this thing called Microsoft. And I don't think Warren Buffett, I'd have to Google it, but I don't think Warren Buffett owns a single share of Microsoft because it's too complicated. He's like, it's not in my wheelhouse. It's too complicated. And so, like, I guess what I'm really good at is simplifying stuff for people. So it's like, okay, yep, they come with a list of all these things they could do, and it's like, yeah, those are all great and dandy, but are you married? Yep, okay. How's your relationship with your wife? Is it the best it's ever been? And generally, I don't want to ask the person. I want to ask the spouse. And the spouse will generally say, well, I'd prefer to have some more free time and this and that. And they say, okay, then this whole list of all these things you got, let's just put them over here. And instead, let's copy a proven plan, which is probably going to freak you out, but let's copy the proven plan because it works.
Interesting. Well, hopefully people got a lot of value out of this. It's certainly very, like we said in the preview video, and it's counterintuitive, I guess, is probably the best part. And like Jonathan said, it's not about information for information's sake. It's about learning what you need to implement and then going and doing it, because it is really simple. So I just want to encourage everybody, go to profitsandpassions.com/apply is that link that's in Jonathan's lower third there. So go there and then stay tuned to this Google Plus page. We're going to have more details on the next Hangout and lots more information and content to come. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes and what direction that we take it. But I know it'll be fun.
Can I add something that people could apply instantaneously and it would change their life?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, so it's about being simple, right? So it's like this guy coming from Toronto, and I could have told him all these great accolades I have and this and that, but at the end of the day, does he care? No. And at the beginning of the day, does he care? No. So since he doesn't care, it's like just worthless breath, right? And it's like, ugh, I don't need to have worthless breath. But what he does care about is he probably wants somebody who, I tell him what my promises are, right? So, and this is, I guess, going backwards even to go forwards. But going backwards, I only take advice from people who their purpose is the same as my purpose, right? So you can go to all these websites of realtors out there, and I don't take advice from them because there's nothing on there that says this is my purpose, right? Because I'm very purpose-driven, if that makes sense. You have to be. If you want to make a massive difference and a massive fortune along the way, your purpose has to be like ultra clear, right? And my purpose is for, and then I tell the client, is for you to be outrageously happy with the high level of service that I provide you, and the end result, you get what you want. Do you just naturally and gladly introduce me to 2 people before we close on your new house? Is that something I can count on you to do? And if someone on the phone call says no to that, do you know what I say?
What?
I say, well, thanks a lot. Have a great day. I'm not a good fit for you. And if they say, yeah, if you provide me really good service and you help me get the house I want, of course I'd introduce you to other people. Then I continue the call. And then the next thing I would tell them are my 3 promises. And I say, you know what? There's 3 promises I make to you. And as my newest client, and I just assume they're going to be my newest client, right? Just like you assumed And your fiance's name is
Chelsea.
Chelsea? All right. So when you proposed to Chelsea, you assumed that she was going to say yes, right?
Right.
Because if you would assume she would say no, there'd be like trepidation. It wouldn't work. You'd be like a mental wreck, right? You'd be in psychotic care and all this kind of stuff. And I've met some realtors out there who need psychotic care because it's like, man, you got to do a Control-Alt-Delete. You know, where are you learning all this gibberish, right? And so many times people learn gibberish from people that have never sold real estate, or sometimes like an office manager. No offense to office managers, but it just okay. It's just not the best way to learn, right? I mean, you're going to learn from generally your top performers. Like I play tennis, right? I'd rather get a tennis lesson from John McEnroe than somebody else, because John McEnroe's actually done it. Does that make sense?
Right.
He's living what I desire to live. But the 3 promises I make, so after I told this gentleman my purpose, and he goes, yeah, I'd refer you people. And we talked for, I don't know, 23 seconds, right? And then I say, well, my 3 promises to you, because I mean, I know this area inside and out, so I'll be able to help you. But there's 3 promises I make to my newest client. 1 is I'm always going to be on time. 2 is I'm going to be brutally honest with you. And 3 is I'm going to follow through and do what I say I'm going to do, meaning you're never going to have to micromanage me. Now, who would appreciate those 3 promises?
Okay.
Like probably everybody on global Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even more so, people that are like busy, right? So if someone's got 4 kids, 2 dogs, 1 cat, both spouses work, do they even more appreciate it that I'm on time?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like if somebody is a single guy and's got all the time in the world, I don't really want to work with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Because they're going to want to do I don't know what. And I got 4 kids and a wife at home where I'd rather spend time with them than hang out. And
the expectation is different.
Yeah, the expectation is different. So it's like I'm dealing with a different economic demographic, but also probably they're just at a different place in life, right? And what happens is in the past, when I work with a first-time home buyer or a second-time home buyer, they don't appreciate what I do because they have nothing to base it against, if that makes sense. But because what I do is really different, and it's the level of service is way beyond, well, when I'm dealing with somebody who's now bought their 7th house, they go, holy crap, this is way different than the other 6 realtors I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
You're hired. Without saying you're hired, I'm hired, right? And then after the 3 promises, then I tell them what I'm going to do for them. And hey, there's 3 things I'm going to be doing with you and for you. Just like that example of that house that's real expensive. It's like you're hiring me to be like your butler. Does that make sense? So if you lived in a $32 million mansion and you came home, you would expect your butler to have your newspaper ready, your slippers, your Diet Pepsi, if that's your drink of choice, or whatever your drink of choice is. Well, I'm going to be that for you. I'm going to be 3 steps ahead of you, right? So what happens is I tend not to get a lot of phone calls from my clients because I'm 3 steps ahead. Where typically when I go interact with realtors, they're like addicted to this crazy device, right? And they're constantly calling and texting and emailing. And it's like, holy cats, that's an option, but like, why would you want that option? And so what I do is I contact my clients and I tell them this, just like I told this one lead this, hey, I'm going to call you every Tuesday and Friday before noon. And if I don't call you before noon on those days, call the police because I've been abducted.
Okay.
And that, I'm telling you, well, life can be complicated if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and that's a great place to end that off, because that is one of the ultimate messages from today, is just simple is better.
Simple is better. Simple is better. And I love the fact you got a dog barking in the background and kids running around. That's awesome, because I don't have a dog, but if I did, I'd let my dog on my lap and whatever, because it's like, if people don't like who you are, I don't want to say screw them, but it's okay, because there's like, at least in San Diego, there's 4 million people out there, and all I need to do is work with 2 people a month. I got no problem with that, right? I mean, and every realtor should have that. I'll end on this, because this is a phenomenal book. If somebody has not bought this, you got to go out and buy this. How the World Sees You. It's by Sally Hogshead. And Sally was your typical, run like a chicken with your head cut off person. And then she was like, well, this is dumb. Strengths and weaknesses and all this crap. She's like, let's just simplify it. And so everybody kind of has 3 words that summarize who they are. And she's just like, just be those 3 words. And so that's what I teach realtors what to do, is just let's find what your 3 words are, and now we're going to interlace those 3 words everywhere, in your marketing, in your interactions that you have with people, because you're just going to attract. It's like, why work with people you don't want to work with? That's like asinine.
Right.
So just work with people that you want to work with, and this is who I am, and away with it. Because we don't have to work with everybody. People can choose to either, work with me or not work with me. And either way, I tell people, either way, it's like my mortgage is paid, my cars are paid. It's not. But it's how to get there. Does that make sense? So how in the world do you get a boatload of money in the bank where you just don't care anymore? Well, let me help you, right? Because I've been there. I've been there. I've had nothing in the bank, and I've been there where I have plenty in the bank. So
very cool. Well, that's another. I'll have to grab that book, because that's a great thing.
Because if I was a database person, which I'm not, but if I was, I would use you guys in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
What you guys do is really, really cool. You take your database, you send out some video to people. People watch the video and they go, that's kind of cool. I like Matt, or I like Jonathan, or whatever the case might be. And then they connect with you. And yeah, if I wanted to work a little longer every month, I would personally use your guys' services. I don't want to work longer, but I do have people that I send your guys' way, and they really like it and enjoy it, and it's so much better than your, hey, time to turn the clock ahead or behind, or here's what pumpkin seeds to plant, and
yeah. Pumpkin seeds to plant. Yeah, and so I appreciate the plug.
Yeah, you're welcome.
With that,
there's a little one walking around.
Well, we'll end with that, and so the next time we get together, hopefully we'll have a really good guest to interview. So we'll put all the links to all this, like to viral marketing and to your application page and everything. We'll put that right on the Google Plus page below, so everybody can get access to the links to the things that we talked about. So with that, I think we'll end it off, and this was a lot of fun. It's always fun talking to you and hearing how your mind works. So I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I tell people, just be the most unorthodox person you can be, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thanks so much, Max.
Bye.